Hey Larry, how you doing? I wasn't expecting you to show up. You come to the junkyard to visit?
I'm at the junkyard.
You want to see your car, don't you?
Yeah, we're gonna see what's going on here.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Yeah, I seen that and I went, holy shit, cut that out. I didn't hear part of that. I went, holy shit. Don't screw with that, it's good solid rust.
Welcome back to Junkyard Redemption in part 2 of Larry's rusty 69 El Camino. In part 1, I picked up a very rusty 1970 El Camino and used parts of the bed to replace what was completely missing on this bed here. If you didn't see that one, go back and check it out. Okay, picking up where I left off with repairing Larry's El Camino. Finished up patching up the bed using the 70 El Camino rusty shell. It's in better shape, far better shape than it was, but far from perfect. So the next step is to move on to this back window and repair this rusted out channel along here. It's 55 inches, I believe I measured. And the break is only 3 feet, so I'll do it in a couple sections, 2, maybe 3 if I have to. So this panel here is a aftermarket replacement panel. It is that back panel. This is for my 70 that I'm working on. I set my project 70, and you can see the shape of this thing, how much it's rusted out, and I need to use the brake to build this piece. So I'll have a bend here, and then another bend up, and then a bend down, and then the inside piece comes down over and gets spot welded to this, which is going to be fun because it's up underneath the cover. So I'm going to use this as a template to try to build the pieces in at least 2 halves and then fit that over top of this. I'm not starting with rusty junk metal on this particular part. I have some new sheets of 18 gauge, so that's what I'll be using. The first thing I need to do is to remove the remains of this outer section, which was part of this panel. Remember, it came up and went down, and this is part of it. Was spot welded to this inner section, which only goes down to here. And even that piece is a bit rough. I may have to weld a section onto that just to weld the new outer piece on. But the way I like to do this is to just get underneath. You know, I just have a thin strip of metal there, and I like to just get underneath it and pull the metal up to the next spot weld. And this is so rusted out, I can even tear it off of the spot weld. So I have very little left right here. You can see this spot weld, and this one here tore right off. So I don't have very much to grind off at that point. But if I'm pulling something off that's more substantial, I'll bend it. I'll cut it off into a strip like that and then bend it back until it just gets to that spot weld and break it off, and it's a lot easier just to get that one spot weld. So that's first things first. Now I have this piece clamped in here. I made 2 relief cuts right here and over here, and then I clamped it up, and I can actually butt weld it right in there. And then when I'm done, I'll take the grinder with a cut-off wheel and cut down, and this piece will fall off over here, and the same on that side. And then I'll take the cut-off wheel and line up with the existing piece and cut as straight as I can over across there, and I'll have a new piece of inner lip. And that'll be that. Then I'll move on to the next piece. Okay, that piece is all welded in and ground off. I didn't weld it solid, I just put a lot of tack welds in, maybe a 1/4 inch apart. So that's really solid. That piece is on the inside and it's just a flange to spot weld to, so that's plenty solid. Now I'll start on the outside piece. This is the metal I'm starting with here. It's a relative, well, it was a new sheet, but I've used some out of it. So what I did was adjust my square to run along the edge here and scribed lines to outline the size of the piece I want. And then to make my bends, I measured out the other piece, the replacement piece, and I had 1.5 inches up to the first bend, 3/4 to the middle bend, 3/4 to the next bend, and then the remainder will go down on the inside and just get cut off. There's enough to cut off the 2 ends. The critical part is the middle bend and the 2 other bends. Hopefully it all comes out right. So I got to cut this out now. Well, I either use these or a cutoff wheel on the grinder. I'd like to have a motorized shear that could cut this out, but I don't have one. So for now, I'll just use these and do it the hard way. It's been quite a few years since I used a sheet metal brake, but I had the basic ideas. Well, I guess I was as rusty as this car because this one just didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. I think I might still be able to use it, but this side looks pretty good. I had this the whole way to the right side of the brake, and the way I had the brake adjusted, it seems like it came out okay. But this part was towards the middle, and I kind of got it a little bit out of whack. The bends are off, too far off from the center. This one's short and this one's long. I might have to cut some of this off and then make a 3rd piece, or try to cut and modify this one to get it to fit. But I made some adjustments to the brake, and I'll have to make some adjustments to my attitude and try it again. We'll see how the next one comes out. All right, I got the second one done. Seems to have turned out slightly better. At least it's consistent on both ends. That end is fitting about the same as this end. One thing I didn't do is get this center bent far enough. I think it could have gone a few degrees more. Well, I got 2 pieces to work with. Just got to get this done. So what I'm thinking is it would kind of make sense to join the 2 together so I have one long homogeneous piece. So what I did was clamped them together to this piece of angle iron, and I'm just going to go through and kind of even them all up with the body hammer and then weld them together at that point, and hopefully I don't screw this up. We'll see. Well, there it is, homogenized. Probably about as good as sour milk. I had to work it a good bit with the hammer attached to that angle iron. This end I'm pretty happy with. Looks like it lines up pretty good. I'll be able to push that down and start right there and cut and butt it right down here. This line, it actually will be below the molding line. so it should hide my weld. Over here is a different story. This looks like it'll line up pretty good, but this is way too high, so I'm gonna have to slit this and take metal out of here because I got that bend off wrong. And I'll have to weld it back together. Shouldn't screw up the first time, and you wouldn't have to do that. Well, my intention was to slit this here to be able to close up that gap and weld it back together. I really don't know how I did it. I ended up slitting this end. And now I guess I have the opportunity to make it more perfect than it was before, even though it was just fine. Well, the mistake was actually just me thinking that I made a mistake. I just had the piece turned around the wrong way. Yesterday was just one of those days where my head was a bit in the fog or in the wrong place. So anyway, I did slit the right part. I worked on that, got that somewhat back to where it should be. Now I think it's time to put some Clecos in so I could get these clamps out of the way and test fit the back window and see if this is straight enough. At least that's what I think I'm gonna do. So I put the back window back in with a couple of small plastic spacers to space the window up and down. And then I put the back molding in to check and see how it's gonna fit. This corner, well, I didn't do that. That gap there, it's rusted out, so I'll have to recheck later when I go to fix that gap in the hole that's over here. And this gap here will be just fine when I get the clips in there. It'll just pull right down. I think that'll be adequate. As long as I get this to line up okay. So I guess that's one of the main concerns when I go to weld it. But it's about ready to go. Take the window and the molding back out. Next thing to do is to drill a bunch of holes here for spot welds to go into this this ledge over here. Okay, all the spot weld holes drilled out to, I think, 5/16-ish. And then just put it back in position here. Went through and scratched up the rusty spots with the awl. One of my awls. So next thing, I'm just going to take it back off and go over it with the grinder and make sure they're cleaned up a little bit in those locations. And then I guess I'll get started with the cutting butt. Well, now I got everything finally clamped into position, and I think I'm ready to do it. But for some reason, I've just been hesitating to do this. You ever have a mental block where you just don't want to do something because you're afraid you're going to screw it up? Maybe that's from the last time I thought I was screwing things up. I don't know. But sometimes you just got to say, screw it, let's do it. So here goes. Actually came out pretty good for the most part. Now I'm not completely done. I still have these spot welds to drill over here. A couple more pinholes to patch up. You always have pinholes. You got to keep going back over and over and over and over. But I'm quite relieved. almost over. And as far as the back window is concerned, I just have this little mess to fix yet, and then I'll be done with back window. And I think I'll move on to floors. Okay, so the little mess is a little bit bigger than I thought. It's always bigger than you thought. Oh well, we'll fix that too. Yeah, it's great to be done with that, but sometimes it's time to stop and just clean up the mess. It's a good thing I put that bed in there, or else all the tools would fall down through.
What you got there, Larry? Was it a long trip?
$200 worth of metal.
All right.
Painted it on both sides.
A new quarter panel for the driver's side, huh?
Partial.
Doesn't have the wraparound lip. Oh, they cut that off?
Yeah.
Or is that the way it was? I think he cut it
I
off.
think he did.
No,
I'm thinking
we'll
a
work
patch
with it.
panel. Where do you want this thing? Out here?
Well, everything's completely trimmed out, ready to go for the quarter. Had to rebuild the outer wheelhouse. The back of it was rusted out. A couple of spots along the lip. Had to put some metal in there. This section was all rusted out from here down. Kind of fabricated some pieces in there. Put some pieces in that lip to make it solid again. So I got something to weld to. Now I'm down to the point where all I have to do is drill some holes for spot welds in the quarter and put it up one last time and weld it in place. This lower lip didn't come down far enough. It was about a 1/4 inch gap. Everything else fit really good. So I had to pound it all straight and then bend it about, well, not quite a 1/4, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 lower to fill the gap. Every once in a while these quarters are like that. They're a little short right there. Everything else fits really good. It's just that. It was just a gap there. And I'm not sure if this was a whole 1/4 at one time and somebody cut it off there, but I'm going to have to butt weld it there. Oh well. Drill a bunch of holes and weld it on, and I'm done, finally. Most of the welding is now done. Got all the butt welding done there. Well, I'm sure there's going to be pinholes. Well, there's a big hole right there, but I have to grind all that down and go back over that and this patch I made here, clean up the pinholes, grind off all the spot welds. I didn't weld inside here yet. I'm going to have to reach inside there and do the best I can to weld that down to the rocker. Up underneath the lip in the back side, I still have spot welds to do there. And then this is a piece of the old quarter panel. It had the side light in it. New one doesn't come with that, so I'm going to use this section to locate that, and I'm going to have to cut around that and weld it into here. And then of course I'll use this template to drill holes for the El Camino emblem. Then I can throw that piece out. Coming down to the wire. I'm hoping to get done today. Larry's coming for it tomorrow. Can't wait to go on to the next project. A little bit of welding, a bunch of grinding yet. Then she's done, finally. I held that piece up here to the quarter, and I traced the holes for the emblem. That was pretty simple. And I drilled that and mounted that, and then where this marker light hole fell, I traced the inner part to get that located. Then I cut this piece out of that panel and then held the piece up to match up the inner trace, and then scribed around the outside of it to get the location. So now I'll cut this as closely as I can and then butt weld that right into there. And hopefully it comes out good and I don't warp the crap out of it. It's always a big concern. All completely done. Quarter panel's done. Sail panel's finished. Floors are all finished. Back window's finished. Put the shelf that goes the whole way across. He didn't want the whole thing. He just wanted little shelves. So I modified them. He said that big shelf in the back is a pain. So I put the shelves in. Of course the bed's done. That was the first thing. All packed up and ready to go back to Larry. He can do the rest. Ready for the next project. Goodbye, El Camino. Off goes the El Camino. What do you think, Larry?
Here we go. Carlisle tomorrow, pick up some parts.
Yep, Carlisle.
Carlisle tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Go to Carlisle. Pick some parts. It's going to be busy. Beautiful weather.
All right. Goodbye, El
Choose a
Camino.
color. Now I got to choose a color. Yellow, blue, maroon, primer. Or primer gray. Carlisle tomorrow.